Being a digital nomad gives you the opportunity to live a life of more freedom than ever before. But with that freedom comes the opportunity to also fall into bad habits. So this video is going to tell you about some bad habits I've noticed myself and other digital nomads falling into while traveling the world and living their dream. Let's get into it. Hey folks, it's Eric from Rising Nomad, and today I'm in Belgrade, Serbia, just walking around, and I often think about how wonderful my life is as a digital nomad, but also how kind of like strange it is and how we're making up this whole movement as we go along. We're making up a whole new type of lifestyle that none of our ancestors really could enjoy. I guess the closest to this that I can think of is like the stories my grandfather told me of the 30s when he used to basically just like walk around. It was like during the, Depression or whatever, and he used to just walk around all summer and find various ways of making money along the way. That's how a lot of digital nomads live, and that's how a lot of people approach this lifestyle. And so there's lots of bad habits that you can get into along the way, and I'm going to talk about some of them, and hopefully it's not just a negative video. There's actually lots of hope here, because I feel that people who well, it's really noisy here. People who have been on this journey for a while, like me, have insights to offer people who are just starting, or even if you've also been on this journey for like 10 years like I have, you can probably also watch this video and get some tips and tricks. So there's lots of light at the end of the tunnel, but I think it's really important to get to know the potential pitfalls of being a digital nomad and the bad habits and stuff like that. And the first one that I'll mention is being unsettled. Unsettled meaning like you are not really grounded in the place where you're living. And this is something that I've noticed, especially over the last year. When I was living here in Belgrade, Serbia, pretty much full time and just traveling, a few days here and there in London to have business meetings or whatever, I was more settled because I was more grounded here. But when I first realized that I could go 4 winters in Asia, I could go to like the lovely island of Copangan, or I could go to Tulum, Mexico, and spend warm time there when it was cold here. Then it was a sort of different thing that happened. I became completely unsettled and ungrounded, and you start to get this fragmented sort of like feeling, like different parts of you are in different places. And the main thing is like you just don't have a routine that's grounded in a place. You don't have constant friends that are there. You're always changing everything. So being unsettled is the main bad habit I think that you have to watch when you're a digital nomad. So what I would recommend to sort of like counteract that, I would recommend sort of just having things that you do to ground you wherever you are. One of my things is online yoga with our teacher, Georgina, and wherever I am in the world, I'll do online yoga with her once a week at least, usually twice a week. And that sort of keeps me some continuity for the routine. And helps with the health thing as well. And with the digital nomad lifestyle, the second thing I'll mention is that it's a lot easier to not deal with your issues as a digital nomad, to not sort of like take care of stuff inside your own mental well-being and stuff like that you really should pay more attention to. I mean, a lot of us have this sort of like outsider perspective. Like I certainly felt like an outsider in Canada, and then you double down on that sort of like outsider mentality of being a foreigner when you move abroad. So, I noticed this very early on into the game of living abroad and being an expat, is I was doubling down on the sense of alienation I felt from my own society. And sort of, by becoming a foreigner, you kind of get this feeling like, well, now I actually confirmed that I am an outsider. I wrote a song about this with my band Eric and the Worldly Savages. Actually, I filmed part of it on this street and in that market I was there. You can check it out. It's called Lost and Confused. And basically, in that song, I think I summed it up by singing, if there's something missing, it will be missing everywhere. So you can go as far as you dare. So a lot of us kind of avoid dealing with our issues of alienation and stuff like depression by becoming digital nomads. And we don't deal with those issues. And it's very easy to get in the habit of avoiding dealing with those issues by just like switching the place all the time, switching your friend group all the time, and kind of running away from it. So that's a bad habit. And I think that everybody who wants to do this lifestyle long term really should take stock of their mental motivation, what led them to become that sort of person who needs to get away, and the real long-term happiness, I think, which, let's face it, I haven't really found something that I would call real long-term happiness in this lifestyle yet, but I think it comes when you deal with all that stuff, despite your choices to be a digital nomad, but you learn how to feel home within yourself, and you learn how to feel secure in yourself. And so that's a journey that I'm still on, actually. And the next thing I'm going to talk about is loneliness and isolation as a digital nomad. This is something that I feel perhaps I'm an expert on this subject because I've spent the last 5 years building a business and as an entrepreneur, and I feel like building an online business is completely different than building anything in person, because if it was in person I had built something that is the same size as what I built now online with, you know, like all the different people working in an office. It would be a lot different of a dynamic. It would be a lot different of a result because there would be a social scene set in there. But when you're working online and you're working in the cloud, sort of getting business done there, endless Zoom calls and all that sort of stuff, at the end of the day, you close your laptop and you're alone. Now, this was a huge contrast to the life I had, you know, directly before I decided to focus on my business. I was focused on actually making music as a touring band. And this is completely different because we were like 6 dudes in a van traveling around Europe, usually. And there wasn't any loneliness, quite the opposite. You know, there was this sort of feeling of being overwhelmed by people, too many people all the time, and you're literally next to the people 24 hours a day. And then you go to places which are very social environments to play concerts, and you meet a bunch of people. There's always people. And so that lifestyle, even though it was always a bit much, then receding into this only working online sort of world kind of made me realize how lonely it can be versus that experience of touring with the band. So yeah, that was a big one, and you have to watch it for, you know, making sure that you actually do socialize in person. I use Couchsurfing a lot to meet people. If you use the keyword search on Couchsurfing, you can really find some really wonderful people who have interests that very well align with your interests. So check that out. And the next thing I'm going to talk about is similar to the loneliness thing, but it's being not open to connections with other people, not willing to commit to relationships and stuff like that as a digital nomad. It's a really bad habit to just have these sort of cursory friendships with other travelers and stuff like that don't really go that deep, and you know, everybody's always leaving to go somewhere else, and so you get in a habit of not being open to connections. You get in a habit of kind of being closed off and being your own island, which is good from one sense to know that you can satisfy your needs. But I almost feel like the long-term friendships and the long-term sort of connections and the deep bonds that you can have when you actually invest in a friendship for years, living in the same place as someone else, or a romantic relationship, that's something that's definitely lacking in the digital nomad sort of setup by default. So it's easy to get into a habit of not being open to connections. So you really have to push and make it part of your routine to go out and meet new people, to socialize with strangers at like couchsurfing meetings. Couchsurfing meetings are the best way to sort of like just meet people. Here in Belgrade, they have one every Friday night, and yeah, it's great because you instantly know that anybody there is gonna be up for a chat. But again, it's like this sort of cursory friendship thing, and if you want to go deeper, you really have to put in some effort. The other thing is only socializing with other foreigners and not really getting into the local culture. This can be a really bad habit that doubles down on the alienation that you can feel as a digital nomad. Because honestly, it's pretty easy to just get in this foreigner bubble and not meeting locals. I mean, here in Serbia, it's really easy to meet locals. They're super friendly and they speak English. And that was one of the big benefits here, that I was moving to a place where the average person could actually converse in the English language. And then furthermore, I did put a concerted effort into learning Serbian, but my default is still English when I talk to Serbs. But I don't walk into the store and try to speak English. You know, I know how to speak pretty damn good Serbian transactionally. But I learned the language and got into the local mentality, and so that opens up opportunities. And always there's somebody who speaks English who will invite you for a drink who's a local somewhere, and you can get to know them. I actually tried making this video on Friday night. It's Monday morning now. Because as soon as I walked out, this guy essentially who knew me from my videos online on the Belgrade Beat channel, because, well, I'm pretty famous around here for that. He pulled me aside and took me, and I sat with local people speaking a mix between Serbian and English, because the guy spoke English, but the other people there didn't. And so I just sat there and drank with them, and it was really, you know, I never want to be too good to have a drink with ordinary local people. If it's the right time and it feels like the right thing to do, I'll always be there. Unfortunately, it hijacked my opportunity to make this video, and it's now Monday morning. You can imagine. I had a nice weekend, super relaxing, and weekends are super important. Yeah, so always hang out with the local people when you can as well. And another thing that you can do as a digital nomad, which I really think is important, like the habit that it's easy to get in the habit of not exercising, not going to the gym, not eating well, eating out all the time. Fast food is pretty much, I mean, the world that we live in and how marketing oriented society is. It's like basically like, if you want food, if you're hungry, basically anywhere you can get fast food that's not that healthy. And it's only a matter of time before you will gain weight because of that. I made another video which is in depth into my nutritional plan, how to keep weight off as a digital nomad, and you can check that out. It's on the Rising Nomad channel, of course, and take a look at that. But yeah, having a solid routine that involves eating vegetables, cooking, paying attention to macronutrients. Like, I need that in my life or else I gain weight with my metabolism. And like, when you're traveling, it's hard to do that as a digital nomad, and also exercise. So my actual strategy is I take gymnastics rings with me around the world that you can hang from any sort of like pole or like basketball hoops or something like that. And a lot of these places have these outdoor gyms, or you can just walk in a gym and pay for a day pass and lift some weights there. But it's very easy not to do that stuff. That's why the yoga sort of like keeps me grounded. wherever I go, doing it online with Georgina, same teacher every time, and making it part of the travel routine. So just don't neglect your physical health, people. Because I've noticed, like, if I stop watching it for a little while, I will gain weight because I will eat everything, and it feels good at the time, like to eat a slice of pizza or whatever. But it's better to be in the habit of having better habits, I suppose. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the long-term strategy, long-term vision of your life as a digital nomad. A lot of us left the grind. A lot of us left this sort of hamster wheel where people were like working jobs they hated to pay off that house, that car, and having children and all that sort of stuff. And we took the more adventurous path. But the thing that I see as a habit it's very easy to get into as a digital nomad is not thinking long term, not thinking about where you want your life to go. And I've seen enough sad old men in Thailand to know that I don't want to end up like that. So I would say that you have to think of some vision about what you want to create for your life. In terms of, do you want to have kids? How does that fit into your digital nomad lifestyle? Do you actually want to own property? How does that fit into your digital nomad lifestyle? I decided personally I didn't want to own property until I could buy it with cash, because like mortgages are like not my vibe. Owing money, being in debt, not my vibe. So I did that, and I bought my first property in the central Serbia, Shumadia region last year. And that's sort of like a long-term plan. I know I have that now. I know I can go there. I know I can grow my own food there, own water supply, all that sort of stuff. It's kind of like, I feel like I'll appreciate it more after I'm 50, but it has a long-term vision aspect to it. So think about long-term visions and how your life is supposed to look. My main thing right now is building community around me. So wherever I am, you know, my two bases right now, Belgrade, Serbia, and Copenhagen, are just kind of like there, and I'm building lives and friendships in both places. And watching this sort of global tribe emerge. And another bad habit that I will mention is the next thing syndrome. I call this like the next thing syndrome, because it's where you're constantly thinking about what is the next thing that you're going to do, and I can't wait until the next thing. So when I was in when I was here last year, I couldn't wait to go to Mexico. And then when I was in Mexico, I started missing Thailand. So then I couldn't wait until I went to Thailand. Then when I was in Thailand, I couldn't wait until spring in Europe. Now it's spring in Europe and I'm missing Thailand. And so this is a really easy habit to fall into, because we have so many options, and there's a tendency to think about the options and think about the choices we can make and choose something that's going to make us happy in the future. And this goes back to the first point of not being grounded, not being sort of like settled where you are and happy where you are. It's something I need to deal with. And the next thing syndrome means that I'm always thinking about the next thing, which is a really useful thing to being ambitious, in service of being ambitious in life and getting things done, to have this hunger for the next thing. But I think that long-term happiness as a digital nomad will only come once I learn to slow down and appreciate where I am. I guess the next thing syndrome comes from kind of like not feeling like all of your boxes are ticked in any one place. And since you have so many options of where to be and how to live and all that sort of stuff, you always want to tweak that. So yeah, what's the next thing for me now? I'm here in Belgrade, Serbia for a few months, going to my property. Yeah, it's a little bit of a scattered energy that leads to me always thinking about the next thing. But I know one thing for sure, like music is going to be one of my main things in my future, because nothing was as amazing as being a singer-songwriter with a rocking band traveling around the world singing my truth to people on stage. And so my next thing needs to focus on that, and yeah, I'm gonna build a community around that. So yeah, there's lots of bad habits out there, folks, and what I would ask you to consider when you're building your lifestyle as a digital nomad is like, why am I doing this? I was doing it because I realized that there was a cultural sort of satisfaction level that I wasn't going to get living in Canada. Like in the first 25 years of my life, I accomplished so much that basically I accomplished like all the growth I could as a human being living in my home city of Toronto, and so I had to leave. And that's sort of like a feeling that continues as I explore the world. And I know I'm not gonna have regrets of becoming a digital nomad when I'm old. I don't know if I'll continue the nomadic lifestyle indefinitely. I don't know if I'll continue the two bases thing indefinitely. I don't know if I'll just end up just living in Thailand and just being there and making that my base, or I can't really imagine wanting to be in Europe for the winter because it really sucks. I guess I used to enjoy it somehow, but once you taste those opportunities to sort of get out there and feel the power of choice, they say that people with more choices are less happy about life, and I really feel that as part of my like sort of inner compass is like one of the biggest existential crises right now is that I have too much choice in my life, and I could do basically anything I want. And that comes with this sort of question, what do I want? Well, I want to travel the world, experience culture, have a diverse group of friends, make music, work online, contribute to the world, change people's lives, be a beacon of sort of like spreading this message of the world's out there and you can experience it, and the world's amazing and it's there for you, but you also need to know who you are and what you want. And I feel like a lot of these bad habits that I listed in this video come from not actually addressing some of the core needs that you have as a digital nomad. So this movement is growing, more and more of us every year, remote working, digital nomad, so on and so forth, different types of communities being woven together around the world. We've got a Facebook group now for Rising Nomad. You can join that Facebook group there and stay in touch with us. I really love the people that I meet from these YouTube videos, because since I put myself out there so much, what I get back is people who are also wanting to put themselves out there and connect with me. So join the Facebook group, start chats, and if anybody's in Belgrade, I'm doing a meetup here on July 1st. And yeah, starting October, I'll be back in Thailand. And I'll do my thing there for about 6 or 7 months. So thanks a lot. This has been Rising Nomad on the streets of Belgrade, Serbia. Have a great day and take care.